The new age of console gaming is almost upon us, and after a fresh batch of info from Gamescom 2013, we thought now was the perfect time to take another look at how the Xbox One and PS4 are shaping up. Having been hands-on with both consoles, and armed with new info on launch titles, release dates and more, TechRadar's Patrick Goss and Hugh Langley re-examine the big Xbox One versus PS4 debate.
Well, I think it's really interesting actually, because we all focus on how the actual boxes look and we get worried about that. And then actually when it comes down to it, I think most people, they go under the television, they pretty much forget about how it looks, apart from when you're pressing the power button. It's the only time you really interact with them. I think it's much more about the controllers and maybe the Kinect and maybe the PSI. They're the things that actually tend to be a bit more obvious. So, I don't think either of them are particularly pretty. The good news is in 7-8 years' time, when they're sort of at the end of the cycle, they're still going to look like decent bits of kit.
There have been quite a few changes in the last few weeks involving the PS4 and Xbox One, particularly where Microsoft's concerned. There have been some earlier decisions involving things like DRM, which are quite controversial. Moving more recently, we've now learned that Kinect won't be so integral to the console experience, so it won't actually be the life source of the console. You can switch Kinect off and you can still run your Xbox One. However, Microsoft's saying it's still, very important part of the experience. It'll still be bundled with every Xbox One. But now we don't have to have it running to play the console. Now, it'll be interesting to see whether this is a good thing or not, whether developers still see it as really part of the experience, whether they're pushing Kinect in all the games, or whether they're now going to see it as more of a secondary peripheral like the PS4i, which will be sold separately to the PS4.
Well, I think even the biggest Xbox fanboy would have to admit that Microsoft have not come out of the whole reversal of their big ideas looking particularly great. But in all honesty, I think it sent a message that Microsoft are listening. They are going to try and be popular as well as just trying to stick to their ideals. I think in some ways it's a little bit of a shame. Some of the ideas were actually quite interesting, whereas Sony played it safe and no one can criticise them for doing that, and it's clearly won a lot of fans. I think Microsoft were trying to do something that was about the future, and I think by reining that in, they've maybe made the decision that in a few years' time they'll maybe try and float these ideas again.
One of the big things to come out of Gamescom this year was the release date for the PS4. So November the 15th for the US and November 29th for Europe, which is great. However, Microsoft still hasn't given us a release date for the Xbox One. Now, it's likely we're going to see it in that same sort of launch window, mainly because there are a lot of games that are coming out for both consoles, and it's likely Microsoft's going to want to get in there before the big Christmas rush.
If you go back just a few months, Microsoft announced the Xbox in this blaze of glory, and then they found themselves criticised for not focusing on the games. I think E3 began to change that, and I think Gamescom has certainly underlined that. The news that they've packaged FIFA 14 for pre-orders is a really important message to send out, that they're taking the gaming seriously. This is a big ticket game. Yes, it might not be popular with everyone. I'm sure there's lots of people who aren't football fans who are saying, why did they have to package this? But the truth is, it's one of the big games, one of the big games that lots of people would go out and buy. And when it's been packaged, I think it sends out a real message. It's saying to Sony, it's saying to all of their fans, we are gamers, we are taking gaming seriously.
Of course, at the end of the day for the gamers, it comes down to the games. What are they going to be able to get their hands on for the PS4 and Xbox One on the launch date? Now, for the Xbox One, we know there's about 23 titles confirmed. For the PS4, there's about 15, but there's likely to be more. So that's great, but at the moment, it is looking like the Xbox One is going to have more titles from the go, so maybe that'll pull more gamers over to Microsoft's side. However, one of the PS4's secret weapons right now is the Vita.
Now, the PS Vita's been a real disappointment of mine over the last few years. I think an awful lot of people expected it to be this amazing handheld, and in reality it was just a little bit expensive, maybe didn't tick the boxes. I think with the big price cut that they've announced and with the extended functionality when you can use it alongside your PS4, it's going to become quite attractive. And I think a lot of the indie gaming stuff and the whole flavour of it, it just makes it feel a bit more exciting, a bit more vibrant again. And I think we might well see sales of the PS Vita go up before the PS4 goes on sale.
A really big thing to come out of Gamescom this year was Microsoft outlining its plans for indie development. So it's put forward its ID at Xbox, which is short for Independent Development at Xbox One, which is basically just going to give independent developers a massive platform on the console to create and publish. There'll be no application fees, and Microsoft will be giving 2 free dev kits out to developers. It's really following in the footsteps of the PS4, which at E3 was announced to be going big on indie gaming. And we know Microsoft's really going big on this. They sat down with more than 50 developers to talk about the project, so really excited to see what's going to come out of it. So as we approach the launch of the Xbox One and PS4, we really think gamers should just forget about the last few weeks and months, step back and just look at the consoles again through fresh eyes and just ask which is going to offer me the best gaming experience.
I have to confess, I'm really excited about both the consoles going forward. I know that's sitting on the fence, but there's just so much to love about both of them. The way the PS Vita is going to work with the PS4 fascinates me. The whole Xbox stuff, the Kinect, I think it's just a really nice looking console, and some of the games are really exciting as well. I think sometimes we get drawn into the whole negatives around the wars between consoles, but actually when you take a step back, it's just a really exciting time to be a gamer.